As many of you may know, I'm still getting to know the city, and I quickly realized after arriving that nothing says Chattanooga like the locomotive. So I decided to take a trip on the Tennessee Valley Railroad. So let's get on board and take a look at our new series, Discover Chattanooga. Engine 1829 pulls itself and 8 cars out of the darkness of the Missionary Ridge Tunnel, just like railroading itself pulled Chattanooga into the modern age of transportation over 160 years ago. Before the Iron Horse, people who lived here traveled by river and wagon, but by the time the Civil War broke out, Chattanooga was a major railroad hub. Several battles saw Union and Confederate troops fighting for control of these very tracks. In fact, Railroad Museum spokesman Steve Freer tells me the very first Medal of Honor was handed out because of this railway system.
One of the more interesting stories is the one about the Great Locomotive Chase that happened here in the Chattanooga area, made it almost to Chattanooga, where James Andrews and his raiders tried to destroy the railroad supply line between Atlanta and Chattanooga because it was so important. And he's actually buried at the National Cemetery in Chattanooga, the very first recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor. So that's an interesting story.
Our first stop is at the Grand Junction Depot, and I learned that there's another first associated with the Chattanooga trains. In 1941, Glenn Miller received the world's very first gold record for his iconic song.
Well, you know, there's an interesting story behind the Chattanooga Choo Choo, especially the song, because that was a fiction. That was not an actual route from Pennsylvania Station to Chattanooga, not the way they talk about it going direct.
And even into the new millennium, train tracks remain the symbol of modern Chattanooga. Tennessee Valley Railroad offers passengers a trip back in time on original 1920s trains.
We're kind of a different museum. We're a museum that moves. So every piece of equipment that you'll see, that you'll ride on, is an antique in one way or another. We're kind of bringing that golden age of railroading alive, where we're able to offer people an interactive experience. They get to come out and ride our train. Don't just look at it, you get to ride it and have that experience.
It's an exciting and educational experience for the whole family, especially the little ones.
For a lot of them, they've just been playing with trains, and so for the first time, for a lot of them, they get to experience what it is to be on a train, to be a part of it. So that's probably the most enjoyable thing I get to see.
You can reserve a private vintage Pullman car complete with bedrooms and a dining area, so you can travel just like the prominent families of yesteryear. While on board, life rocks along at a gentle pace, leaving time for conversation with new friends.
What about hobos? Was that a real thing?
That was a real thing. Yeah, people would hop on trains and travel, try to stay undetected. These days, it's very dangerous and illegal.
Is this an area where Jesse James or any one of those gangs might rob a train?
There may have been some of that, but I don't think that was in this area too much.
All right, so we're not going to get robbed or stopped or hoboed or anything on this trip?
That's not planned.
Okay.
Well, there's no such thing as a time machine, but a ride on this vintage rail car is about as close as you'll ever get.
And if you close your eyes, you can kind of imagine how it was traveling maybe around the turn of the century. It's a really neat experience.
Well, RailFest has fun for everyone with a special trip and family fun the first weekend in September. And for a special date, you can have dinner on the diner most Saturdays throughout the year. There's tours taking you along the Hiwassee River Gorge or corkscrewing up a mountain. You could even get a once-in-a-lifetime view riding from the front of the engine. So discover Chattanooga with the Tennessee Valley Railroad. It's just the ticket.